Blender for Noobs.
Hello, this is Dan Nobles and welcome to Blender for Noobs and welcome back to the tutorial series on designing your own car. In this part 14 of the tutorial, we are going to use the materials that we created earlier and assign nodes to them so that the materials actually look like what they're supposed to, or at least hopefully close to it. Before I get started, let me go ahead and do a save as. And we're going to call this 14. And I'm going to call it underscore materials nodes. Save that. But before I get started, I'm going to do a little bit more modeling very quickly on some things that you may or may not want to add, such as the side handle, a spoiler up front, and a gas cap. Shouldn't take very long, hopefully, and also the back tag thing. You'll notice that I did put my seals along the windows here. Alternatively, instead of using the black specularity, if you want to, you can try the chrome material there as well, depending on how you want your car to look. So I'm going to start with this back, what might be the tag area, and just choose faces. And I'm just going to choose these faces here. And E extrude, scale down, and just E extrude, scale inward, and that will give you an area right there to put a little tag if you want to. So very easy. Let's try to do some sort of handle here, door handle, and I'm going to go ahead and control up arrow, come back here and assign this face the chrome material. And control up arrow and just E extrude, and just going to bring this out, and it's not keeping my chrome material, I don't think. Yes, did I assign it? Yep, okay. So then E extrude once more. I'll bring it out a little bit more and scale it down, and then underneath maybe bring this out just a little bit more. E extrude, scale inward, and then you can either delete that face or E extrude, scale upward and scale down. And need to bring that in so you don't see that. And so you have a rudimentary door handle there. And just going to do a control R here just to get that chrome material to show up correctly. Actually, you can back up a little bit. For some reason it wasn't showing on my extrusions. So I'm just going to select all these faces in here. And go to my chrome material and assign. Okay, so it looks something like that. Not the best in the world, but just a quick kind of a door handle there. It's actually a little bit too big, I think. But anyway, of course, you need to do that on the other side if you applied the mirror like I did. Another thing I needed to do, I think, is select this. Let's go to Vertex Select, Z. That's very hard to see. I need to get this stuff out of the way here. What's going on there? More than one vertex there, I guess. Okay, just bring that in a little bit, and same thing on the other side. Okay. So that's the tag, that is the handle, and we do some sort of spoiler here. We can come in here and face select. Just going to select all these faces right here. 7 top view, control up arrow. E-extrude, scale down. And we'll say that, let's see, spoiler maybe about that big. Choose Vertex Select. Choose these 2 vertices, SX, scale these down like so. These 2, SX, scale down like so. Okay, and face select. Select these faces here. And E-extrude upward just a little bit. And E-extrude upward again. And go into 3 side view. R rotate that. Maybe bring it down a little bit like so. And let's see if we can straighten this out a little bit. Select those 2 vertices, bring those up. And maybe even bring this down a little bit. Okay. And face select. Select these 2 faces. E-extrude, scale in a little bit. E-extrude, scale inward. Just slightly E-extrude, scale inward quite a bit. And scale that down. Move it down out of the way. And if you want to, you can X delete that face. Okay, and see what that looks like. Yeah, not crazy about it, but might also be able to do something like Control R. Square it up a little bit. Make sure it didn't put any creases in your hood when you did that. And I think the problem with it right now is it's just too high. So Vertex select. Oops. Turn off occlude. Select these and bring them down quite a bit like that. And grab this middle one, bring that down. And then we got that other thing in the way. So I need to grab those. Get that out of the way. Okay. And then if you want to, you could put something in there, something sort of like grills. So just to do this quickly, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. I'm just going to L select my grill pieces here, Shift D to duplicate, bring these up. Scale them way down. This is called gorilla modeling right here. Scale on the X. And there you go. That is quick and dirty. Not what I would recommend, but for just doing something very quickly for this thing here. Alright, let's go ahead and do the whole point of this part of the tutorial, and that is assigning our materials. So Control up arrow, and I'm going to do a Control S quick save, and we'll start with the body of the car, which is right here. So I'm going to look at the node editor, control up arrow. If you don't see this, make sure you have use node selected. Make sure that you are in the correct node display, which is the shader nodes. And we're going to start to create some paint. So I'm just going to do a Shift A and texture, not texture, let's see, input texture coordinate. Bring this over here. And I'm going to do Shift A, go to vector, go to mapping, put in mapping, and I'm just going to connect the object to the vector here. And I'm going to control, yeah. Let me X this out. We're going to need the material output, so I'm just going to move this over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a paint job here, and I have to give credit to Blender Wiz for this setup for the paint job. I've done different setups for paint myself that was okay, but this is really one of the best that I've seen, so I'm just going to use that and give him credit for it. So next we need to do a Shift A, and we're going to go to texture, and we're going to get this Vertex texture or whatever it's called. Grab that. I'm going to plug this into the vector here. We're going to make this, leave it at 5 and change the intensity to cells. And then we're going to choose Shift A, go to color, and grab gamma. And I'm going to plug just the two colors, color to color here, yellow to yellow. And let's make this 3.5. And then I'm going to choose Shift A, create a shader, mix shader, and we will plug the color into the factor. Okay, and then another mix shader, Shift A, or actually you can do Shift D, duplicate this one, and plug this shader into the bottom shader there, and then this shader to the surface output. Shift A, and we need to create an input and go to this Fresnel, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, unfortunately. Fresnel, I think, but anyway, it's you think of a Fresnel lens, it's like the lens on the top of a lighthouse. It tends to be concave, I believe. I'm probably telling you completely wrong. Anyway, we want to move this over, and we want to plug this into the mix shader, and we are going to change this to 1.5. Okay, and then we are going to Shift A and go to shaders, create a diffuse shader, bring it down here, and let's leave this at 0. These colors are going to be the color of our paint job, so we'll leave that as it is right now. Shift D, duplicate this one, bring it down. Take a mix shader, Shift D, duplicate that, bring it over here, and just plug these both in. Leave the factor at 0.5, and do a Shift A, go to shaders, create a glossy shader, bring this down here, and then take the shader value to this one, plug it into the fact there, and we're going to change this glossy value to 0.3. We're going to change this to GGX, and I'm going to plug this one into the bottom of the mix shader there. Choose this glossy shader, Shift D, duplicate, move it over here. I'm going to change this back to sharp, and the roughness on this is going to be 0. And plug this into the bottom of the mix shader here. Okay, and this is our basic paint job, but the colors you want to kind of mess around with are these two here and this one. And what it's doing is it's mixing these two colors together, bringing them through the mix shader. It's using this Vertex texture in order to get sort of like a sparkly effect on it, and then the Fresnel to under the factor to kind of give it a distorted look. At least that's my perception of it. So on my car, I'm going to start out with kind of a green color because I'm going to do something different because I always do blue. And this accent here, I'm going to try yellow. And then for the glossy, this is sort of like your specularity, I believe. I'm going to leave this at white for now just to see how it looks. Control S quick save and Control up arrow. So we have that. Now we're going to move on to our glass. Come into our node editor. Choose the diffuse by default, exit out, and choose Shift A. And we're going to go to shader and just put the glass shader in there. Roughness of 0 is fine. Index of refraction 1.45 tries to duplicate the effect of glass, light passing through glass. We're going to leave it as it is, just plug it into the surface. So just as default, like that. So that's our glass. Control up arrow. And if you want to, you can also come down here to the preview and you can kind of see what this is looking like. Yep. Select the actual body of the car. So right now I have this weird kind of look on the body of my car. And I noticed the cells are way too big here, so what I need to do is come into this mapping, and we're going to change this around a little bit. Let's change this to scale of 80. Tab out of that, scale 80, scale 80. And hit enter. Okay, so now you will see that you're getting kind of this nice speckly kind of look. And the car is way too baby crap green for me. So I'm going to choose green and just darken this up a little bit. And I'm just hell-bent on making my car just the ugliest car in the world. I just can't help it. I don't know why, but that's where I'm headed. Okay, I want to make it a little bit more green than that, so I'm going to take this diffuse, bring it back up. A little bit darker green. Okay, I'm going to stick with that for right now, but you can see how you can change around some of these values in order to get your paint job. And you can see the white here, the specularity. If you want to, you don't normally change that to anything but white, but you can change it and give it kind of a interesting little effect of the light where it's slightly blue or whatever you want it to be. Okay, so that is the paint job. And mirror back into our node editor. I'm going to take this diffuse, exit out, choose Shift A, shader, and I'm going to put in a glossy shader. Just plug that into the surface, and we want a roughness of 0, and that makes it completely like a mirror. So the mirror is done. Lights, the headlights. I was going to do, what you would normally do here is you would take you would do texturing on your headlights usually. But I did something really weird here, just playing around. So in case you want to duplicate what I've done, these are the settings to do that. Basically, I'm taking a couple of textures, and I'm running them together. I'm brightening them up a little bit, using the diffuse and the glossy shaders to get the so you can see them, mixing them together and putting them to an output. And I'm taking this checker texture and I am plugging the factor into the displacement and have a scale of 75. What this does is it gives you sort of like bump mapping, but I'm using the checker texture to do the bump mapping part of it. If you have any trouble finding any of these nodes, you can do a Shift A, do a search, And say if you say checker, you'll start to type it, you'll find these nodes. So just in case you want to duplicate what I've done there, which is going to probably look really weird and inappropriate. I did the same thing. If we look at the rear lights, I did pretty much the same thing. I did change the color, of course, and I think I changed the scale on the checker texture. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. So you can do the first checker on the lights. You can select all, do a Control C to copy that, and you can actually Control V, paste it right under your tail lights if you want to. So X, delete those. Just a quick way to copy nodes. Control up arrow. Okay, and just scrolling down, we have Chrome. So let's go into our Chrome. And what I'm going to do for Chrome is going to delete the diffuse again. Going to Shift A. Go to Input, choose Fresnel or Fresnel, and I'm going to Shift A. I need a shader, and I'm going to choose a mix shader. Put it right there. Let's move this out of the way. Just G moving those. Shift A, shader. I want a diffuse shader, and Shift A, shader. I want a glossy shader underneath that. So this one, I'm going to leave at the default index of refraction 1.45. Plug the FAC into the FAC, and for this, actually it doesn't really matter, but let me put the glossy up here just to be consistent. We'll leave this white and change this to 0.01 for the glossy, and just plug it into the shader here. And for the diffuse, let's just make this a light gray, something like that. And for the roughness, I want 0.1 on this one, so a little bit different. And let's plug these in here and plug the shader into the material output. When you're all done, you'll see the chrome material in your preview over here. So this is our chrome here, or what we're using for chrome. And for the black specularity, going here, we can leave this as it is, but I'm going to do a Shift A shader. We need a mix shader. Shift A shader, and we need a glossy shader. So just move this out, drop that right in there, plug that in like so, and let's see, let's make this 0.02 and bring this down a little bit so it looks kind of glossy like that. And you can play around with the factor here if you want to, as far as how much of the glossiness it's getting. Okay, so there is our black specularity. This, don't really need to do anything with that. It's fine like it is. So, what do we have left? I think those are all our materials. If I drop this down, I can kind of look at what we have, look over and make sure that I hit all of the different materials. We don't have very many, so that's it. So now I'm just going to do a Control S quick save and Control up arrow, and we see our entire car here. Shift Z to go into render viewport mode, and you can see that our car is starting to actually come to life as far as our materials. Now, one thing that I caution you on when you see, you put your materials on here, it looks pretty cool. We see some sparkly chrome here and the paint job and all that stuff. The glass doesn't quite look quite right yet because we can't really see through it, but we're going to fix that. Without the correct lighting and the correct backdrop, your car will not, and your paint job and all these materials will not look correct at all. So the next part of the tutorial, the next video, we're going to be setting up the lighting and the backdrop, and that will cause all these materials to look like they should. In fact, you'll be amazed at how nice it looks compared to this. So we're going to do that. So luckily my car, I feel like it's looking less like a Gremlin and a little bit more like some other type of car that I created. From the front, still have a kind of a Gremlin feel to me, but anyway. So far so good. So I'll catch you in the next video.